Hi, I'm Alex from Southern Ukulele Store. Bass players, ukulele players alike, welcome to this video. In 2024, the ukulele bass is evolving, the mini bass I should say, or the U bass. There's lots of names for this, lots of people putting their stamp on it, quite literally their trademark on it. And I guess the market is quite muddy. It's hard to know what you should go for. The way I see it is right now you have Carla, Flight and Fender. Three brands really doing something with the ukulele bass that we should pay attention to if you're in the market for one right now. Mini basses are not a new thing. The mini bass itself evolved from the Ashbury bass, a short scale bass with rubber type strings, probably about a quarter of a century ago. Carla adopted that technology and refined it. And I have to say, it kept getting better and better. As the technology improved, the pickups improved, and the string technology improved. But it was always a limited market, always something that a ukulele player picked up as kind of I'm the one in the band that plays the bass. And unsurprisingly, as it's evolved, more serious bass players have taken to it, and Carla themselves have a very impressive roster of well-known bass players currently playing ukulele basses in some form. The ukulele bass has evolved. It's becoming more like a mini electric bass guitar. Having the steel core to the strings, the magnetic pickups makes for less kind of wobbles on stage, more precise intonation, perhaps a more refined sound. I don't doubt for 1 second that the mini basses out there, the ukulele basses with the rubber strings and maybe the rubber strings with the steel windings, they have their place. But I was hoping, given the lack of information out there about the new solid bodies on the market, I could be the person to navigate you in the right direction. First up today, let's take a look at Carla's solid body U basses. They have some pretty obscure codes, the KA, SB, and then the various color and the fretless, fretted, left-handed, 5-string options. Carla have catered to bass players because Mike Upton himself is a double bass player, somebody who takes the bass very serious. It's no surprise that the ukulele bass and the evolution of it has largely been under Mike Upton at Carla in the last decade. So the solid body Carlas have a very, very cool, unique shape to them. It's still got that top horn for kind of balance when you play with a strap. It's worth noting as well that the scale length on these Carla solid body basses is 23 inches, slightly longer than you would expect on a normal ukulele bass with the rubber type strings, but that extra scale length really does do a great job in proportionately making the instrument feel better, as well as making it intonate better and perform better. It's a single pickup offering with one pickup in the middle here, kind of split coil pickup like you would expect on a P bass. You have a very good, very, very high quality bridge. The best bridge we're going to look at today on the Carlas. Very easy to maneuver, but heavy duty as well. You have going up the neck here, you have the Carla headstock, which is two-a-side tuners. They are mini bass tuners. Very, very easy to use, very, very precise, and the headstock itself is quite lightweight. What I will say about the Carla is the neck on the Carla is very thick. This ukulele neck has a very, very Gibson baseball bat Les Paul style neck to it, with quite a wide string spacing. Feels strange in the hands at first if you're not used to a bass. This is definitely a ukulele bass for bass players. If you're a ukulele player, this can feel a bit strange for the first 30-40 minutes that you play it, because it's so much thicker than you might expect on your average tenor ukulele. It's important to note that a lot of the walking and running happening now with the ukulele bass is because of Carla. The strings are a great example of that. Carla worked directly with Labella, a fantastic historical bass string maker, to produce special strings for these ukulele basses. They are special because they are slightly thicker than your average 45 to 105 set. They're doing flat wounds, round wound sets, 5-string sets, and they have a special taper. They thin out just past the nut width to go through the machine head easier. You can peel back normal bass guitar strings, but it's messy, it's difficult, and it can be quite fiddly. Luckily with a bass, you don't tend to change the strings as often as you would with, say, a normal ukulele, so that's not going to be a common problem for a lot of you. But it's definitely nice to know that on launch, Carla have a string capable of being replaced, and a string that you're not going to spend months trying to figure out how you're going to get your bass up and running again. And if you're interested in more information about those strings, I've made a video for my Ukes of Alex channel, my personal channel, where I ABC the Flight mini bass with the factory strings, the Carla strings, and then the Carla flat wounds. So that information is out there, and I'll put a link in the description for those that have missed the tag in the corner. Two controls here of master volume and a master tone on the single pickup, and the jack socket is recessed there at the bottom, so it's out the way when you play. The neck is maple, it's bolted onto the body, and this particular design is available in lots of flavours. You've got a fretless, got one here. They come in sunburst, red, black, and Carla are introducing new colours all the time. They do a sweet cream, like a vintage white, a powder blue, they do a pink, and I know that there are more colours to come in the future. The 5-string version of it isn't in stock at the time of filming, but I've got a sound sample for it that I'm going to play for you immediately after the sound sample of the fretted 4. But for now, plugged directly into a Zoom H4 and with a room mic on a bass amp as well, you have the SB, RD, FS, and the whole Carla solid body ensemble represented in this. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Next up, let's take a look at some of the more exciting flight basses out there on the market right now. This is the Flight Mini Bass, and this is the Flight Mini P Bass. We'll start with the Mini Bass because that bass came first, and actually I think it's probably responsible for a lot of the modern interest in ukulele basses. When this came out, it was the first really, and I mean truly affordable bass ukulele out there that was solid body and cool. Flight have kind of cornered the market at finding cool things that they can do affordably that work. So as a result, they've picked up a lot of people's interest in recent years, and the Mini Bass was a great example of that. All of the Flight basses have a 23-inch scale like the Carla solid bodies. The Flight Mini Bass has a single pickup along with a volume and tone control, metal bridge there with adjustable saddles, up an Indian rosewood fingerboard to the Flight headstock, which has a quilted maple cap in that transparent blue with the slightly more industrial, slightly thicker and bigger tuners up here at the headstock. You have a narrower neck than on the Carla. The actual neck depth and neck width it's shallower with a slightly more narrow string spacing, but it's comfortable in the hands. I've got quite big hands. I find this very, very comfortable to play with a similar neck profile or feel to your average jazz bass. You have a quilted maple cap on the top, which has been stained a lovely trans blue faded to white, and then it's a basswood body underneath that, so a standard kind of basswood body with the maple cap over the top. And this was the bass that started this movement for Flight. This is the first of the 4 that are out there on the market right now. I have one of these at home. I got one for my son about a year ago. So this is the Mini Bass, and then you have the brand new Mini P Bass. The Mini P Bass doesn't stand for precision like you might think. It actually stands for poplar, because this is a poplar top stained with kind of black to, I don't even know really what you would describe it, but it looks cool. They call it trans grey, but I think actually that what they've done is they've done a traditional black outer rim like you would do with sunburst, and just let the wood do the talking with a thin grey outline. It's really beautiful. The spec on this otherwise is the same as with the Mini Bass. You've got a single pickup. You've got the poplar cap at the top here as well, which is also trans grey with a Flight logo. One thing I think Flight could do well is actually get their logo to stand out more. It's very, very delicately kind of inlaid there and not very visible on camera. You've got the closed back tuners. You do have a black nut on this compared to the white nut on the mini bass, but the neck profile and feel is exactly the same. So we've got quilted maple versus poplar here. Let's give the mini bass and the mini P bass side-by-side comparison. We're going to do this by using a DI into the interface as well as a room mic in front of a bass amp. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Let's take a look now at the last of the Flight basses today. This is the Mini J bass. The Mini J bass launched in Sunburst at the tail end of 2023. It's a 2 pickup J bass style ukulele bass. So you've got the pickup up closer to the neck. You have a bridge pickup, a volume for this pickup, a volume for this pickup, and then a master tone. The scale length on this is longer than the mini basses at 23 inches like the Kala, and this does make for an improved intonation and a kind of tighter playing experience. When you're playing on stage, I highly recommend going for one of these. It's a more refined and serious instrument, despite being a lot smaller than your average bass. For me, as a bass player of several years, going into performances and switching from a Hofner medium scale bass over to one of these, I find this easier to play, and I find that it actually produces a bassier and more natural sound, very easy with very minimal fiddling around needing to be done down at the control panel. You've got 4 in-line machine heads with a familiar look to that headstock there, and you've got open gear. They're open gear bass tuners, a good bass tuner. Balance wise, if you're going to compare the Kala and the Flight, which is something I can say I've done firsthand, I've been gigging both for a while now, the headstock on the Flight is noticeably heavier. You know, it does balance a bit strangely compared to the Kala, but it's hard to argue. This is the iconic bass look and shape, and for me, it's not enough of a deterrent to make me prefer the look of the Kala. I think this is just one of the sexiest looking basses ever made. You have a bolt-on neck once again, like you would on everything else here. It's a maple neck with a maple fingerboard. This bass is also available in a moonburst, so a silver sunburst finish. The first batch of these available in right and left-handed are actually exclusive to Southern Ukulele Store. It's going to be at least 12 months before you see these in any other shops. That is because they exist because I asked Flight to make them for us. I really wanted a left-handed bass on the market. Obviously that's the right-handed one behind me, but we've got these in right and left-handed variations. There's links in the description. The Sunburst model should be everywhere now though, and I can't recommend these basses enough. They're fantastic. Let's give one of these a play now and see what you think. Finally today, let's take a slightly different look at things. This is the Fender Fullerton Precision Bass. I wanted to feature this because actually without Fender, we wouldn't be featuring these basses at all today, unless somebody else got to that idea down the line. But actually historically, Fender and the Precision Bass is so important to the story, it felt wrong to not include them in this. Although I will say that Fender are working a couple of steps behind Kala and Flight in terms of the technology. This is an acoustic bass. This has much more of an acoustic sound, which is great for home use. But on stage, there are some limitations that I think we should discuss. It's important. This has an undersaddle piezo with a side panel. You have a built-in tuner, volume and a tone. Although obviously, let's be honest, as bass players, we're just going to roll the tone right down and hope for the best. The strings on these are not metal bass strings. You're not going to go and get a set of regular slinky bass strings and put them on this. The strings on this are a nylon core, a plastic core with silver winding, like really fat classical guitar strings or a really fat wound low G string. So that enables these strings to be picked up through the piezo nicely without too much tension being on the instrument itself. The neck is fat, it's chunky, it feels very traditional. There's nothing wrong with that, but the feel of this is much more like an acoustic bass guitar than an electric bass guitar. You have 4 inline machine heads. These are closed gear machine heads. They've still got the iconic Fender buttons, and of course you've got the Fender logo on the headstock. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with paying a bit more for the Fender logo on the headstock. It increases the resale value of an instrument, and it does give you this sense that you've got the right brand for the job. We have been vocally quite dismissive of Fender ukuleles over the last decade here at Southern Ukulele Store. We inherited some stock when we moved here, and I found that they were inconsistent. For every one that we passed, we failed one and sent it back to Fender. I do think that with the ukuleles, there's still a lot of room for improvement. But I have absolutely no problem with stocking the Fender basses. I actively enjoy these basses. I think they offer something unique. They play well, they sound good, and they're going to get people excited to pick up an instrument time and time again. And when they do, the instrument's not going to let them down. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with these. The Precision Bass comes in a vintage white finish and a sunburst finish. Very, very hard to get stock of these, so it's something that I will put a link in the description for, but we may have them infrequently over the course of the next year or so. But for now, we do have it. So let's play the Fender Fullerton Precision Bass and see what you think. Just while the camera's on you, Romeo, you just played all of them. What was your favourite?
The Flight Mini P. But
Yeah, the little one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Felt a little bit tidier, cleaner, easier to play, even though the scale is shorter.
Nice.
Yep.